You manifest every single thing that happens in your every single day. When you say, I don't want to be tired tomorrow, you're going to be fucking tired tomorrow, because the unconscious gets rid of that and just hears, be tired tomorrow. To live an energy-rich life, you have to be able to give and receive. You can't just keep taking. You're going to start to be rejected. It's really, really hard, but you have to be willing to choose you, because all of those things that you want and desire are actually on the other side of that. If you choose you, you will find people who choose you too. Welcome to Life by 8, your blueprint for designing your ultimate life. I'm Rebecca Grugan, your architect on this journey to building a life fully lived. Using our 8 Pillars to Human Wellness framework, we'll explore how to transform your everyday from ordinary to extraordinary. So let's go. Whether this is your first episode or you've been in our community for a while, you may have heard me talk about energetics and the importance of energy and what does it even fucking mean? So, energy is everything. The atoms and all the sciencey words that I'm not going to say because I'm still learning about them, but the energy that is around us, I'm a form of energy, you're a form of energy, this camera that's filming me right now is energy. Money, the $50 note that you have in your hand, which is not going to be there for much longer as we become a non-cash society, but that is energy, right? And so if everything is energy, it means that it has to have a positive and negative charge. And one of the things that I absolutely love doing with my clients and with the group containers and in our community is to help people understand what is their natural blueprint. What is your energetic blueprint? And that's where the I am energetic blueprint comes into play. And so when you can make sense of what drains you, what fully lights you up, when you become aware of that, you actually get to acknowledge how you and those around you are affected and how they affect you and your energy state. But then you also get to come to an acceptance piece. And when you come to that acceptance piece, that is when your life starts to shift. And so lots of people talk about energetics in different ways. And I really just want to speak about it from where I start when it's with somebody else or even on my own journey. We start with the nervous system that we all have in our bodies. And I want you to pretend or to lean into the fact that your nervous system is actually what is like, the old school TV antennas? It's like your antenna inside of you. And so, when you're sitting in a room or a group of people and somebody walks into the room and the whole vibe changes? It could be that it's like all the air was sucked out of the room and it's like drops down into a negative state. Or maybe somebody walks into the room and it's like the party gets started and the energy and the vibe lifts. That is energy at work. Your nervous system, your antenna speaks to the energy around you. So you have an energy field. The camera has an energy field. I have an energy field. Everything is energy, right? And so when we can make sense of whether we're an internal energetic type or an external energetic type, and somebody, like a book for those of you who may want to know about it, and we'll put it in the show notes, is The Seeker's Code by Donnie Epstein. Donnie Epstein is Tony Robbins' energy dude. They call him the wizard. And he's was a chiropractor, and he talks about energy, and he does this work where he doesn't even fucking touch you and your whole body shifts. This is where the work of internal and external started. And so the internals out there, your past actually fuels you. Your past actually drives you and brings the color forward. So your future may look black and white, and it might bring anxiety. It might bring fear of the uncertainty. For me, as an internal, what really made sense to me recently was why it was really tough for me to study blockchain. And when I was in the Web3 space and creating NFTs, and I bought Gary Vee's NFTs, VeeFriends, when they first launched, went to VeeCon in 2022, got into this Web3 world and was starting to learn about things that didn't fucking exist yet. And I was really getting, feeling dumb, feeling unaware, but because I have this ability internal of me to trust myself, I really didn't make sense of this until I understood that my past is actually what serves me. And what I mean by that is the businesses and the success I've had is when I actually create something new with things that already exist. So if you can imagine Uber might seem like a new style of company, but the thing is that all they did was innovate using booking systems, cars, and they really transformed the taxi industry, the transport industry. And so that is from existing things already to make something new. And so when I learned that about myself and the past successes I've had, and I always wondered why, I went to a psychologist a few years ago and I was like, I really need to learn how to attach because I'm not as emotional as other people and maybe I'm too detached. And she goes, people come here and pay me to become detached from things. And that's when I started to realize that actually I'm not broken. Either are you, because nobody's broken. But the thing is that I got to learn about from all this reading and all of these things that I'd put myself in front of, that it's actually my past that puts me into an energy-rich state. And it's also why my past doesn't really affect me emotionally like it might somebody who's an external. And if you're an external, and there's processes we can do to help you make sense of whether you're internal or external, the externals, your future looks bright and shiny and colors and rainbows. Your past, when you turn around to look at it, is all like dark, stormy clouds and rain and storms. And you're just like, it depresses you. It drains you. And so if you are one of those natural energy states that puts you into energy rich, but you're not aware of it, you may be living unconsciously in an energetic way that doesn't suit you and actually keeps you neutral or even deficit. And so you may be tired all the time. There are so many people who say, I'm busy, I'm tired. And it's like, it's such a common thread that it's almost like acceptable. Like, at what point do we accept that our life is that we're just always going to be tired and we're always busy? Like, what are you busy doing? Seriously, think about it. What are you busy doing? Do you just say it? Do you just create it to avoid something? And when it comes to energetics and how it's spoken about out there at the moment, it's like, too many women are in the masculine. I was one of those, apparently. Or, those girls who are so in their flow and feminine and the goddess and all of that sort of stuff, but they can't run a business. Like, who the fuck says? Masculine and feminine energy is important to understand that we all have it. And when you can make sense of the science behind it and how it affects relationships, how you show up in a relationship, when you're dating, even when something is coming to an end, whether that's a business partnership, a relationship or marriage, or even when your children grow up and leave the house. Masculine and feminine energy, it's really important to make sense of how we limit each other when we're in partnerships or community. However, to say that so many women are in their masculine, but give no depth or context or solutions outside of having to just wear dresses all the time, like, there's more to life than that. There is more to this concept of energetics than what people speak into at the moment. And so, no, I'm not a coach or somebody who's going to tell you that you have to wear more dresses. And I am not somebody who is going to tell you that you have to become submissive to your husband. I am not somebody who's going to tell you, as a male who has feelings, to stop crying and man up. I am not that person. So if you want that, this is not the right place for you. But if you want somebody to help you make sense of things, to answer the questions that go unanswered, to ask the why, then I am that person and this is the place for you. Because we need to start asking why more often. The quality of our questions needs to improve. But for so many of us in the system that we're in, whether that's the education you went through, traditional schooling, we stopped and lost the ability to ask questions. Even though we have more than any time in history access to more information than ever. And so your energy state, your energetics, the quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. And so where we start with is we start with the ability to understand if you're internal and external. And when I do this process with clients one-on-one, but we've also got our one-day workshops on this, when you can make sense of your internal and external, when you can make sense of what values levels you're at, when you can know your attachment style, everything shifts immediately. And when I say immediately, I mean immediately. You can't ever go back to not being aware of that. And so when you can make sense of whether you're internal or external, you really start to work out why your past has been what it has been, why your life is the way that it is. And so as an internal, when I can make sense of that my past serves me, then I can look back at that. And I can look back at that and go, okay, cool. I don't have to keep trying to make this different or bring that forward. I just utilize that to serve my future. And if you're external, like my husband, so having an internal and external, but ever since knowing this about ourselves, it makes sense why when we have conflict over, you never do the washing, or you're always too busy, you're always on your phone, whatever the language, and this is where we speak about in Life by 8 about nervous system and communication, why it's important, because they go hand in hand. Because how you communicate energetically affects the quality of the relationship. So now being able to know that Paul is external, I speak more into the future positively, and he changes his language to speak to me with the past from a positive perspective, even though the past doesn't serve him and the future brings or drains me more than the past. But these are the skills, right? When you have a nervous system that is regulated, your antenna can actually tune in to a higher frequency of life. And so if you can imagine that everything around you is energy fields, including the culture one, so whatever country you're in, it has its own culture field. Whatever frequency you're operating at is going to have its own thought energy field. Do you know that your thoughts don't actually come from within? I know. The thoughts come to you. And so when you become aware of internal or external, and we do these processes, and then I do this thing where it's like, if you were to think of blue elephant, where does it come to you from? Does it come from the front of you, behind you, the side of you, above you? Because it comes to you from a direction. And that's what actually blows people's minds, is when you realize that your thoughts are not your own. But we let our thoughts create our reality. And it is those words, it's those thoughts that get magnetized to us, then the words we use to speak it out loud, which is what we manifest, right? So yeah, your thoughts do create your reality, but your thoughts were never yours to start with. Same as your beliefs. And all these people are on this journey to try to change their beliefs, your limiting beliefs, which most of them come down to 3. I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable. But I'm just wondering, do you actually believe a belief can be changed? Because at some point in your life, you believed in Santa. And if you're in the car with your kids, probably stop or mute this for right now until after school drop off. But you believed in Santa at some point for many of us in this world. And then at some point you decided to change your belief that he didn't exist anymore. Whatever that was for you, whatever age you were, it's different for everybody, right? But you changed a belief. So if you are actually living your life letting beliefs stop you because you don't believe you can change them, you can. But it's outside of yourself where that belief comes from. So that belief energetically might have been because your mum didn't give you enough attention, or your dad was always at work, or you always got told you were stupid, so you started to believe that you were stupid. But those thoughts were outside of yourself. And so your thoughts create your reality. Your thoughts are outside of you. They're in the energetic field. You magnetize it based on the frequency you're at. And so when I speak into energetics, what makes sense is that when you can actually start to shift and play a chess game, literally with how the data comes at you, how this energy comes at you, how these little black boxes that you create, mother means this, father means this, financial responsibility means this, chicken means this. What a chicken means to me is different to what it means to probably a vegetarian or a vegan or an animal rights activist or a chicken farmer. But chicken as an energy field is defined and has meaning that is different. And so for somebody who says, I'm not worthy, if they're an external, that's likely to be behind them. And if they're an internal, it's likely to be in front of them, because if it's seen as a negative thought, they usually have it in either the where they feel and get drained from, or it's in where it shouldn't be. So if you're an external and you have I'm not worthy and it's right in front of you, you move that energy to behind you, it loses its power because you're not charging it. And this is the simple thing. Like energetics is made to seem like some fucking magical thing. But when you bring in the logic and you can make sense of it, and I translate it for so many people, they could start to see how they actually can play the game. Because instead of being played with so many people in this world they feel like they're being played. It's because you are. If you are not aware of your energetics, if you are not aware of your energy field, you are going to feel tired all the fucking time. And it is not because of your children. It is not because of your boss. It is not because of your husband or wife. It's because you haven't taken responsibility of your energy state, of making sense of your energetics, of your masculine and feminine flow. When you take control of that, because you can choose. When you choose to make sense of that, the tired goes away because you start to live in more of an energy-rich state. So what I want to talk about next is the 4 energy states that people feel. And so those energy states are things like energy deficit. We have energy neutral, which 90% of the population live their life in. We have energy rich, which you'll have experiences unconsciously of going in and out of. It's those moments when you feel like you're in flow, when everything's just connecting for you and making sense and life seems easy. Then you have energy super rich, which not many people can actually handle going up there. It's the collective consciousness that we're actually trying to shift as society, as humanity. And what happens is that some people get into energy rich and then they get excited and they go into energy super rich and then they stop giving and they just keep taking. And that's where the universe neutralizes stuff, because people who just take from the collective conscious, they'll die, they'll go bankrupt, they'll lose the love of their life, whatever it is, but the energy will neutralize because they're just taking. The thing is that to live an energy-rich life, you have to be able to give and receive. You can't just keep taking. There is this thing about, there's more and more and more and more, and there's always there's abundance, there is enough, and there is. But the universe will actually neutralize you if you just keep taking for yourself. If your purpose in life is not greater than yourself, you will only experience energy rich and energy super rich states for a short period of time, because the energy will neutralize. When you can make sense of where you are, most likely to be in energy neutral, potentially in energy deficit, which is similar to where depression and those moments where you feel like you can't get out of bed, to energy rich, which are those days and moments in your life where it feels like everything's perfect and incredible. Do you know that you can actually have more of those days? Do you know that understanding that blueprint will help you have more of those days? I know. You don't have to live in scarcity. You can actually live in abundance. But the thing is that I want you to realize that you have control over that. You have the ability to live your life like that and design a future around that, around who you are. And so when we realize where we are, when we know our energy state, so whether we're internal or external, when we realize that we've been living life in a certain way that may not be conducive to energy rich, and we understand that data comes to us and thoughts come to us, then we get to start playing. In Montessori, we talk about play as the work of the child. And in other philosophies and other ways we talk about childhood, or sometimes our memories of childhood, are the moments that we got to play freely. The thing is that is an energy-rich state. And you can actually feel that more often than not. But you have to remember that you get to choose to play. You don't have to wait for anybody else. You can choose yourself right now. And so when you make sense of your energy state, you get to play with the universe and you get to co-create magic. Because it might seem like when you learn or listen or hear about this sort of stuff, that it feels way outside of your comfort zone, that it's too woo-woo, that I can't see that ever being possible for me. The thing is that we now have this model where you can actually really logically make sense of things. And when you have that knowing, it's really difficult to let go of it. And so then you get to play, right? So when you understand you have an energy field around you, and then you can actually go, all right, that doesn't serve me there. I want to move that to here. This I want to bring to the front because I want to focus on that, and it feels great to be here. When you become consciously aware of that, your conscious and unconscious thoughts start to align. And it's in that alignment where you become magnetic, where you start to be able to get all the things that you desire. But to get to that point, you actually have to have a nervous system that is regulated. And so there is a reason why people talk about ice baths and cold exposure, why people talk about breath work, meditation, journaling, all of that sort of stuff, right? I just want to speak into that for a moment. Journaling is transferring energy from within you onto paper, because the energy can't be destroyed. Energy can only be transferred, transformed, or reflected back as it is, or charged negatively. So sometimes when we're in a fight, and I don't know if you may have kids, right? And you're like, they're arguing with you and you're arguing back, and it's just scaling up and up and up. You're just negatively charging that energy, and it's just getting more powerful each time, but not for a result that you want. Which is why even if you have a nervous system that's regulated, if you don't have the communication skills, you're going to have to work way harder to keep that nervous system regulated. Whereas if you can make sense of how to actually communicate based off energy, which is where crucial conversations comes into play, which structure, body language, all of that starts to play into it. When you have a regulated nervous system that's not all frenetic, so you have this antenna that can pick up whatever frequency you choose, then you have the ability to communicate that, your desires and your needs and wants outside of yourself, but also to communicate to help others see that. You have this thing, you have this moment in time where life feels like that magic that you haven't been able to make sense of. And that foundation, when you then start to make sense of your energy blueprint, when those foundations come together, you then get to build on top of that, and it's solid. And when you build on that solid foundation, you can have cyclones, you can have hurricanes, you can have anything happen for you, and it's rock solid. And even if you have to rebuild the building using the 8 pillars to human wellness, that foundation stays strong. And that's why there are people who have strong foundations who can rebuild life, whatever happens for them, because this is solid, right? But the thing is that when you can have a nervous system regulated, you have communication skills, they come together because you understand your energy blueprint, then you start to make sense of those 8 pillars. You get to actually start to see what you've been trying to make happen, which is the vision board. I put the things in front of me on a board and it never fucking happened. Like, manifestation, the way that many people talk about it, is not the way that people talk about it. You actually have to take action to do things, but you have to be able to operate at the frequency that attracts that desire, need, or want. And so when we can bring that together, which is what we do at our one-day workshop about your energetic blueprint, when you know that, then you can actually start to design the life that you want. And that life that you want may be better relationships. It may be to have a relationship. We are human most of the time in this reality. Some of you may think that you are aliens, and that you could be, and whatever it is that you are, cool story. But in this human form that you are right now, we are born to be around humans. We are born to be in community, and solitude and, isolation is great, especially if you're internal, right? But you are born to be in relation with others. So that can be friendships, that can be work colleagues, that can be, in a coach-client relationship. Whatever it is, you will grow and learn by being in community. And so that desire of wanting to be in a stronger, better, loving relationship, or to attract that in, it requires you to take responsibility of yourself and your energetics that you bring to the world, that you bring to community. And so when you do that and then you start operating differently, this is where some people stop taking action, right? Is because you're going to start to be rejected by people who have been in your life in the past. And it's really, really hard. Because foundationally, we want to be loved. We want to belong. And all of a sudden, we're being rejected by our tribe. We're being rejected by the people from our past. You've changed. Cool. The thing is, right, is that you actually want to fucking change. So instead of letting the you've changed put you into fear, put you into scarcity, and stop you from taking action for the life that you desire, what if when they say you've changed, it was, I fucking hope so. Because it's in the change that the magic happens. But you have to be willing to choose you, and you have to be willing to change your your vibration, your frequency. And that may mean that you sit at a table by yourself, because you have to leave the one that hasn't been serving you. And that village will come. You will find the place that you belong. But instead of trying to fit in, can you start being you? Can you start being all of you? Because all of those things that you want and desire are actually on the other side of that. Because if you don't choose you, people are just going to use you for what they need and want. Everybody has their own agenda. And so if you choose you, you will find people who choose you too. And so Life by 8 is an incredible community of people who actually choose themselves, and we all choose everyone in here. And that's why it is so deep. That is why it is so connected. And that is why you feel drawn to here. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. It's happened for a reason. Somebody's recommended this to you. You've discovered it. It's just come into your feed somehow, but it's for a reason. Because if you start trusting energy and you start trusting yourself, you'll realize that you actually have control over seeing things when the universe puts it in front of you. And you don't have to wait for the truck to pay attention. The moment that you can make sense of your energy field, you actually start to pay attention to the things that you want, and they come to you from a further distance. So we talk about the feather. If we have 3 rings around ourselves, the closest one is the brick. The second one in the middle is the truck, and the one outside is the feather. And the more in tune with yourself, and the more you make sense of your energetic blueprint, the more you only need the feather, the sign from the universe, to make a decision. If you ignore it, then you get the truck, so it's getting closer to you. You get the brick. If you ignore that again, you get the truck, and shit is a lot fucking harder. And the feather, brick, and truck doesn't have to just be a metaphor for things that are bad. They can also be good. So when you are in alignment and you see a feather and the universe puts something in front of you, you take action faster. You take action faster because you are more aware of things as they're coming to you, because your energy field is bigger. You don't have to wait till it's fucking in your face to make a decision. And so that is why so many people you see or admire seem like their life is just going full bull and they're taking action. Things are moving faster and they're collapsing time. I fucking hate that term for right now. But it's because they're making decisions at the feather and they're not waiting for the truck. You can do that too. But to do that, you need to make sense of your energetic blueprint. And I can help you with that. I would love to hear your thoughts on what energetics means to you, what has made sense, what questions you still have. Please put it in the comments below, in the show notes. And if you have loved this episode, please share it. Because even that exchange of energy, of sharing something that served you, you are serving somebody else by giving them the opportunity to see the feather in front of them. Thank you for joining me living Life by 8. If this episode hit home, brought value to you in any way, I would love your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform too. And don't let your journey end here. Connect with me and my community at Rebecca Grugan on all social platforms. I look forward to going deeper with you on your journey.